It was a haunting image that shocked an entire country. A teenage girl standing alone on the desolate Mexican highway at 4 a.m. Her arms crossed, a look of distress on her face. That girl was 18-year-old Debanhi Escobar. Her decomposing body was found inside a cistern at a motel. But how did she get there? Why wasn't she found sooner? And who, or what, was she running from that night? The answers remain elusive, tangled in contradictions, disappearances, and silence. This is the story of a young law student whose final hours have exposed a painful reality about violence, justice, and the value of women's lives in Mexico. Debanhi Susana Escobar Bazaldúa was like any other teenage girl. At just 18 years old, she had recently started studying law and had dreams of becoming someone who could make a difference in the world. Her father, Mario Escobar, and her mother, Dolores Bazaldúa, had adopted her at a young age and supported her ambitions. She had a close group of friends, loved music, enjoyed nights out, and was navigating the messy, exciting, and sometimes overwhelming transition into adulthood. Like many teens, she wanted freedom, fun, and to feel safe. But safety is not a guarantee for young women in Mexico. The country has been battling an epidemic of femicides and disappearances, particularly targeting girls between 10 and 19 years old. In Nuevo León alone, where Debanhi lived, 52 women had already been reported as victims of femicide in just the first few months of 2022. It was Friday, April 8, 2022. Debanhi had made plans to go out with two friends, Yvonne and Sarai. One of them was a close friend, while the other was more of an acquaintance. They set out to attend a party at Quinta El Diamante, a venue known for hosting late-night gatherings. As the night progressed, Debanhi's behavior reportedly changed. According to the girls, she appeared erratic, possibly intoxicated or under the influence of something. At some point during the party, she got into an altercation with someone and locked herself in the men's bathroom. By 1:20 a.m., the two girls decided it was time to go. They called a Didi driver, a man named David Cuellar, to take Debanhi home. This driver had been with them earlier in the evening and was familiar to the group, but Debanhi reportedly refused to go home with the other girls and insisted on going alone. That decision would change everything. Security footage later showed Debanhi getting into the front passenger seat of Cuellar's vehicle. What happened next is unclear. The driver told authorities that Debanhi became agitated during the ride. He claimed he tried to get her to tell him her home address or a contact number, but she refused. He also claimed she exited the car on her own and insisted she was fine. But Debanhi's father would later allege something far more sinister, that the driver had groped his daughter, touching her breasts without consent, which is why she panicked and got out of the car. To back up his timeline, the driver took a photo of Debanhi standing alone on the highway at around 4:25 a.m., her arms folded, the darkness stretching behind her. It was the last known photo of her alive. The image quickly went viral after her disappearance, becoming the chilling symbol of everything that would follow. It wasn't just a photo. It was a question. What happened next? Debanhi never came home that night. By the next morning, her parents were frantic. They filed a missing persons report with the Nuevo León State Attorney General's office. But, like so many families before them, they quickly encountered delays, bureaucracy, and what would later appear to be blatant negligence. As media coverage of her disappearance grew, so did the pressure on authorities. Social media users circulated the haunting highway photo, sharing it with hashtags demanding justice. Her disappearance sparked protests, particularly among women's groups who were already fed up with the government's failure to prevent violence against women. Meanwhile, police began combing the area. They searched highways, buildings, and abandoned lots. They claimed to have searched the Nueva Castilla motel, the very place where Debanhi's body would eventually be found, 4 times, but each time they said there was no trace of her. The Nueva Castilla motel is not your typical lodging spot. Located along a major highway in General Escobedo, it's surrounded by warehouses, transport offices, and empty spaces. It's the kind of place people don't really walk to. They drive, check in discreetly, and leave quickly. But it's also where Debanhi was last seen on camera. Security footage from the motel showed Debanhi running toward the complex at 4:35 a.m. She entered through the main gate and passed by a long-abandoned restaurant adjacent to the motel's garden area. What she was running from, or who she was trying to get away from, has never been answered. The abandoned restaurant had been closed for years, yet it had a functioning camera that captured her movements. The rest of the motel's cameras? Authorities initially said there was no footage. Then, days later, 3 new videos appeared. Why were those videos hidden? Why did it take so long for them to surface? Were they edited? These questions have yet to be answered. One of the final clips shows Debanhi walking toward the pool area near a large sealed cistern. At this point, she had already approached the Alcosa transport office nearby, banging on their security booth, but receiving no help. The last camera to see her alive recorded her at 4:56 a.m. And then? Nothing. No footage from the motel's reception. No witnesses. No other cameras. It's as if she vanished. 13 days later, on April 21st, search teams returned to the Nueva Castilla motel. In a garden near the pool area, a worker noticed a foul smell coming from the cistern. They opened it and found the decomposing body of a young woman floating in the water. It was Debanhi. Her body had been submerged in water for nearly 2 weeks. Authorities initially suggested she had fallen in accidentally, that she wandered into the area, tripped, hit her head, and drowned. But that version didn't sit well with her family or the public. Her father, Mario, demanded a second autopsy. The results were horrifying. Debanhi had suffered a deep cranial contusion. There were signs of blunt force trauma. More disturbingly, the second autopsy suggested she had been sexually assaulted before her death. Now, the official theory of an accident looked like a cover-up, and the question shifted. Who killed Debanhi? As the investigation dragged on, it became clear that massive mistakes had been made. 2 prosecutors were fired for negligence. Key witnesses gave conflicting accounts. The motel had lied about its camera system, or the prosecutors had. The timeline was full of holes. And then there was the cistern. Search teams had passed it multiple times. Dogs had sniffed the area. So how did no one find her for 13 days? Authorities claimed the body may have been moved. But if that's true, who moved it, and when? Debanhi's death is not just a tragedy, it's a symbol. Her image, standing on that highway, has been painted on murals, held up at protests, and shared across millions of phones. Her case galvanized women across Mexico who saw in her story the fears they live with every day. Her father, Mario Escobar, has become an outspoken advocate for justice. He continues to demand answers and accountability. He believes his daughter was murdered, and that powerful people are covering it up. Debanhi Escobar was a daughter, a student, a dreamer, a young woman who wanted to change the world, and who ended up becoming a victim of it. Her case remains open, her story remains unfinished, and her voice, captured in silence and shadows, still echoes across Mexico. If you felt this story, share it, speak her name, and remember, behind every headline is a real girl with hopes, fears, and a future that should never have been taken. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this story. Justice for Debanhi. Justice for all.